Welcome back to the channel. It's a brisk 32 degrees in the garage this morning, but today we're going to tackle one of the scariest things known to the home mechanic, drum brakes. Let's jump right in. Now that we got those tires out of the way, we can come down here and take this drum off, and this will give us a good idea of what we're working with for these rear drums. These are looking a little low, so it's good that we're replacing these. And I also see that we're missing one of the adjuster cables on this side here. So that's something that, it's a cable that kind of gets wrapped around and mounts up top here. It looks like it's just broken maybe. Let's see if we can get this pulled out. Yeah, okay. So that cable just looks like it snapped off. I don't see it in the drum, so maybe it has worked its way out somehow, but we're gonna have to run to the store and grab that and get some new brakes while we're at the store. So yeah, good thing we're taking a look at these. Let's get this hit with some brake clean and see what we got. All right, so as that gets cleaned up a little bit with some brake clean, what you guys are gonna wanna do is come in here and take a picture. Grab your phone, take a picture of how these are, how all these springs are routed, what's sitting on top of what. That way, when you go to reassemble it, you have a reference picture. For one, that'll be super helpful if you can't remember how exactly something went. Also, do one side at a time. Don't come in here, pull this off, start taking springs off, and then jump over to the other side, because you can always use the other side as a reference. So let's start diving into this. We'll take some of these springs out of here, and I'll show you just how quickly we can get this thing disassembled. So here is that. I think these are a adjustment cable that wraps around from that stud down to the other side. That one looks like it's just broken clean off, so we'll have to get a new one. For these retaining pins here, it's got a little notch. It's like a cross, so what you're going to want to do is just grab a good pair of pliers and grip it, and make sure you hold the stud from the backside so it doesn't try to push through to the backside. But grab it with a good set of pliers, and you're just going to want to twist the entire cap 90 degrees to find that notch, and then these things should come off. They can be a little tricky sometimes, especially with this one being somewhat rusted. Also, the fact that my pliers are a little too big to get in there. And there we go. It came right out. And you're going to do the same thing for this side. Well, came off, went shooting the other side, but we got it off. All right, so we took all the springs off. We took the broken retaining cable off, and then we took the retaining spring off. And as you see there, that is the T pattern, or the cross pattern that I was talking about. So you just have to find those slotted holes, and the pin that's in here will slide right off of that. So there's really not much that's holding the pads on much now at this point. You see they're pretty sloppy. The only thing down here that you have to keep in mind is we do have the adjuster that sits down here. This does have a little bit of tension on it sometimes, but pretty much that and this tension bar up across the top underneath your cylinder are the only things that are really holding this in place. But if we just kind of separate it out a little bit like this, boom, there you go. So that's going to be your brake shoes. And so make sure that you kind of keep this all fairly organized, because they are different from left to right. So you're going to want to make sure that whatever one you're replacing this with matches up exactly like this. So we'll set this off to the side. You may have seen this bracket kind of dangle here. This is for your e-brake. So we're gonna just kind of leave this here, and then don't forget this other retaining bar here. We'll set this off to the side, and we'll start kind of cleaning this up a little bit. I might get some a wire brush in here, clean off some of this surface rust. Just try to get us a good surface to start reassembly on. On the old set of shoes, we have this pin here that's going to hold our adjustment rod in place. So that's going to have to be on the left side of the pad assembly for the passenger side. And as we see here, that's going to match up perfectly. So let's get these put in place and start reassembling for the passenger rear. For assembly here, guys, it's going to be just like the disassembly, except in reverse. We'll make sure that we put the shoes on in the proper orientation, all the springs hooked up in the correct holes, and that's really where the photo that we took earlier and the reference on the other side come into play. So we'll be able to take a look at those in case we have any questions. Additionally, when I did go to the store, I did grab a new adjustment cable. So we're gonna have that to put in place. As you saw there, that was the piece that broke. The cable just broke right off. So we were missing this entire spring assembly that hooks down to the bottom. So we'll be able to throw that in as well, which is awesome that we got that replaced. So let's start tackling this and get everything taken care of. Okay, so before we put those new shoes in place, just remember that we do have this bracket piece that attaches to both sides of the shoes. So this is actually going to sit in here, and it's also going to attach to your e-brake bracket in that notch. So that's going to sit in there, as well as the left side of those new shoes. So just make sure to not forget that. Now let's work on getting those retaining pins through with those plates that we had to twist to the T. We'll get those in place, and that'll kind of hold all the shoe assembly in while we start attaching the springs. So for that, just take that rod, that pin that comes through the backside, and we'll put that in place. So we've got both of the retaining pins and springs in place now. All of that lower level assembly is still there, and we've got the connecting rod in between the two shoes. Again, these are still a little sloppy, but as you can see, I can push them into place right now. So next up is going to be all of the springs that attach to the two shoes and that cable assembly. Keep in mind here the order in which they all stack up on that rod up here at the top. That is going to be important. So again, reference that photo, guys. Reference the other side if you have to. But let's start assembling those springs in place, and we're almost done here. We need to see how much drag it takes to put the drum on. Because the pads are going to be new, sometimes the drum just doesn't slide on all the way. You're going to want a little bit of drag here. So you're going to want, you don't want to have to force the drum on like with a hammer or something like that. But you are going to want to make sure that it can go on smoothly enough. To me, that feels just a little bit loose. So down here on our adjusting rod, we can turn it one way or the other and basically push the pads out or bring the pads in with that adjustment. So let's do that now to tighten it up, or excuse me, let's do that now to push the pads out a little bit, because I think the drum slides on too easy. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for a drum brake rebuild here. All the springs are in place, our new cable's in place. I did get the drum here adjusted properly. So basically it's gonna slide on with just a little bit of resistance, and still be able to be pulled off just by hand. That's going to be pretty much it for the passenger side. The driver side is going to be almost identical, except it's going to be a little opposite or mirrored. We'll go through and roll through that one pretty quickly. Like I said, it's going to be pretty much the same thing. We'll show you if we have any issues over there, but I'm going to try to roll through that one pretty quick, and that way we can wrap this project up. While we're in here, I figured might as well give these things a little bit of marketplace magic. Hit them with the high heat up to 1200 degrees. Obviously the brakes aren't going to get that hot, but it'll give them a little bit better finish, a little bit better look underneath those wheels. And let that dry for a minute or two. We'll throw them on and we can call this project done. Guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Now that we've got that marketplace magic happening on this drum, it's looking a whole lot better. We've got fresh shoes on both sides now. Everything is tight and solid. Hopefully you learned something. Doing drum brakes really isn't all that hard. Just take your time and be mindful where things go and what springs go where. But we'll catch you in the next video.